There we go. All right. So, welcome everyone to Friday and to the Friday program of the ICF High Country chapter. We've got some new folks here and some friends. So, it is great to see everyone. For those who didn't know, ICF High Country includes all the more the northwestern states in the United States. So, that's Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Utah, North Dakota, and South Dakota, and all of our friends who come to join us, which we so love. So, Valeri from France, but originally from Ukraine. So grateful to have you here with us today. Um, uh, and and I was just looking at Kitty, who's here from Kentucky. Anyway, so we've got folks from all around, and it's so grateful to that. I am the president of the ICF High Country chapter. And so that means any feedback, any ideas, anything that you would love to see happen within our chapter, please don't ever hesitate to reach out to me. I'm president at icfhighcountry.org, or you can also find me on LinkedIn. I'll put my information there. There's no big updates. The one main update I have from ICF Global to share with everyone, and Valeri, this might be interesting for you, and that is ICF Converge is in France. And I think I'll look up the date and I'll put it in the chat as soon as I'm done and we kick off. But it is coming up in France here in the next, I want to say it's March, but I might be wrong on that, but it's coming up. So if you have any desire to head over to that conference, please know that it's coming up. And then there'll be another ICF, I think it will be Converge as well, that will happen in the fall. And as we get more details around that, we'll share that. This year it'll be in DC. And then next year it'll be in Denver. So a little closer to those that are on the West Coast. So I think that's the most important update that I have to share with you from the chapter. As always, please keep an eye on our website. We'll be putting links in the chat so you could see what's coming up for us. Thank you, Christine. May in Paris. Doesn't that sound spring in Paris? Okay. But for today, without further ado, we are thrilled to have Laura joining us over in New Jersey, close to New York, where it's cold, to do her session on Ask Better Questions, Get Better Results. If you did not know, Laura is an award-winning coach, known internationally. I love that you have been on Oprah, featured on Oprah, and some national morning shows, which is very cool. You've also been a TEDx speaker, which is fantastic, over 2 million views, and has written 5 books. Laura is renowned for her signature Now What? Career Clarity Methodology and A-List Coach Business Mentoring Program. That's a mouthful. Her program has helped thousands of individuals and organizations find clarity, confidence, and purpose. We are thrilled to have you, Laura, one of the founding members of ICF Global, which is also wonderful. Thrilled to have you join us.
Thank
I will
you.
hand it over to you. Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. And I thank your leadership because I know everyone's a volunteer here at ICF, and I was one of the original volunteers, 4 years on the board, starting out over 30 years ago. And now, no one at home office even knows my name. So it's grown up. The organization has grown up. Let's see. Let me go to my next slide. Sorry about the inconsistency in our titles. We called it Ask Better Questions, Get Better Results. And here the slide says Ask New Questions, Get Better Results. Doesn't matter. We're going to talk about questions. So you heard a little bit about me. You've heard about all my professional credentials. I'll round that out by saying, yes, I'm freezing my butt off in New Jersey. I have your weather. It's sub-zero here. Well, I think it might be balmy today and not be sub-zero. And life is rounded out here in Verona, New Jersey by 2 of my 3 kids still at home. Everyone's graduated college, so I'm an old timer now. And 3 rescue animals, 2 cats and a dog. So that's where I'm calling in from. Just had, it's now past the holiday season, but it was a delightful holiday season. And we got hit with lots of snow here in New Jersey. So it's kind of been a little, bunkered down and taking it easy, but the start of a new year. So happy you guys are with me. And we are going to talk about questions and jump right in. Well, actually, let me back up and let you keep looking at my face. Why don't you tell me in the chat? Sorry, this is the one thing about my mouse. It's so sensitive. It just keeps throwing things all over the place. Why don't you show me in the chat so I know a little bit about you? Tell me, those of you who have been coaching like 1 to 3 years, put a me in the chat. 1 to 3 years. Anybody in the 1 to 3 year lane? Okay, cool. How about the 3 to 5 lane? Give me a me in the chat. Here come the 3 to 5s. All right, and anything over 5 years, say me. All right, here they are. Awesome. Okay, good to know. So we're across the board. We've got people in their earlier years, people in their, with loads of experience. So I'm very honored that you're here. Hopefully you'll hear something new, or at least useful when it comes to questions. As we define coaching, a lot of it is supposed to be asking questions, right? So I wonder how much of your, let me see this in the chat if you don't mind. How much of your coaching session would you say is devoted to questions? Give me like 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%. I doubt it's 100%. I don't expect it to be 100%. But how much of your coaching sessions would you say is devoted? Ooh, 90, 95%. All right. 75, 60, 20, 70, 75. All right. All right. So those of you who are spending a lot of time on questions probably have, I'm interested how long those sessions are, because when you ask the right questions, you actually end up with shorter sessions. And that might be an interesting thing when we talk about Q&A, because is it still worth the value if it's shorter? People think that more time equals more money as a coach, but on the business side of the business, actually, if you can do it in less time, that's actually worth more money to people. So these questions we're going to talk about today are going to help you actually reduce your time, which will be really helpful for your discovery calls. So we're going to do some exercises together. We're going to practice question asking. First, I'm going to tell you about where my come from is with questions. So that will make this slide now make sense. Are you problem oriented or are you solution oriented? Now, I'm sure if I asked you, you'd all say you're all solution oriented. That's what we do as coaches, but you'll be listening now in a new way and maybe be a little more curious, because when we're digging for answers, when we're helping peel back the layers of the onion with our coaching clients, we might find ourselves more focused on problems than we realized. And how do you know if that's you? Moving to the next slide, if my mouse will be nice to me. Okay. It depends on how much you're fishing for information and how much you're fishing for wisdom. So we're going to talk a lot about the difference between these kinds of questions. And I think we all have the propensity to want to know the details. We want to know the story. If you're having long discovery calls with people, it's probably because people want to tell you their story. And I'm going to show you today that you don't need much of the story at all to ask effective questions. So the worst question we can ask is why? Why is a great question for scientists, for people who are trying to figure out why that cell split or why that medicine is not working or why that illness has happened. It's great when we're in like the scientific mode, but when you put it towards humans, tell me in the chat, what answer do we get when we ask why to a human of any age? What do we get? What do they usually answer? I don't know. Thank you, Ruth. Because, defensively, I don't know. That's right. That's right. Thank you. Do we even get an answer, says Annie. Good question. Good question. Exactly. So when we ask why, it's like, why did you put crayon on the wall? I don't know. They did it first. So why is not an effective question. But where most of us go is we have a propensity to want to understand the problem. And this is where I'm going to challenge you today. When we want to understand the problem so that we can get to a solution, we are asking who, why, what, when, where, how, what if, right? We're kind of doing the investigator mode. We're kind of doing the reporter, the journalist, yes, you're solution oriented, but you're invested in understanding the problem. And this is where, I find when people who are not coaches think of coaches, they think, well, we help people solve problems. We tell them what to do, we give them advice, we get in there. And the less we do of that, the better the answer for the client. Now, let me talk a little bit about what I call ego reduction therapy. Being trained as a coach is ego reduction therapy. Because how many times, show me by a show of hands, because I can see most of you on the screen. Show me by a show of hands, how many times have you told someone a great idea and then they don't follow through with it? Awesome, great. And then have you ever had the experience, show me again by a show of hands, of someone coming back to you maybe a week later, maybe 6 months later and saying, I have this great idea, and it was the one you gave them? Anyone had that experience? Okay, that's why I call it ego reduction therapy as a coach. You've got to reduce your ego. You've got to not care that you came up with the idea. But this is how human beings are. When they own the solution, they're more likely to take action. When we give them the solution, they might think it's a great idea, and they may not. They may shuffle their feet and may not do anything about it. So the more that people can take ownership through our questions, the more that they are going to have that transformation that they came here to get. So once again, I challenge you with, are you problem oriented or solution oriented? Really? Which one? Because if you're asking information questions who, what, why, when, and how, you're looking for the problem. You're digging for the solution to the problem. I want to shift your questions. I'm working on your brain here, right? We want to cause an aha. This is the neuroscience of coaching, right? When someone has an aha, that's neuroplasticity. Their brain is just expanded, a new opening, a new synapse, a new possibility, a new understanding. And that's when people have those moments that they pay the big bucks for, right? Because they didn't come up with them themselves. And there's one question that I find has a search engine effect on the brain. And that is questions that begin with what? Questions that begin with what have a search engine effect on the brain. They are so specific that they have to cause a specific answer. How many people, just by show of hands, have had that experience? Have you noticed what questions being different than other questions? Just curious. Okay, we're gonna play with this today. We're gonna have lots of time to play with this. Oh yeah, that is not a wisdom access question, by the way. That's not a good what question. So what questions I call wisdom access questions, right? So wisdom access questions, this is what makes a wisdom access question. It causes forward motion and solution. That's a writer downer. Write that down. Wisdom access questions cause forward motion and solution. So they don't necessarily tell you more story. They don't necessarily tell you who was in the room and what happened, but they cause forward motion and solution. And I find that questions that begin with what have a propensity to cause forward motion and solution. And like I said, there are a few exceptions to the rule. WTF is not a wisdom access question. What's wrong with you is not a wisdom access question. And then one that I learned from a bunch of CEOs that I was doing presentations for is they found a way to disguise a suggestion as a what question. So I'll caution you on this one. What about doing this? Or what do you think of that? That is not a wisdom access question either. That is a suggestion hidden in the disguise of a question. So I'm putting this in your brain And I'm going to show you if you use wisdom access questions on yourself, how they work. So the next time that you have a conundrum, if you're asking, why is this happening to me? No, turn it into a what question. What can I learn from this? Why do they have all the luck? Maybe you're a little envious of somebody else. Why do they have all the luck? Gets you nothing. What can I learn from them? Gets you forward motion and solution. Why did I do that? What can I change moving forward? Why am I so stupid? What do I still need to learn? And why her and not me? Who do I need to ask for, help? I think I lost a word in there. Who do I need to ask for help? Right? So here's some ways that you can use wisdom access questions on yourself. If you journal, if you do any responsive writing with yourself, these are great to use, right? So why is not going to get you anywhere? What will get you somewhere? And we're going to play with this, and we're about to do an exercise. I'm going to put this slide back up when we do the exercise. But if you have your phone with you, and forgive me, this does collect your email address. You can always unsubscribe from my newsletter. But if you have your phone on you, pull it out and take this list, get this list of wisdom access questions. It's somewhere between 100 and 200, I forget. But I have a list of wisdom access questions for you that you can keep. You can keep by the phone. You can use it with your coaching. You can use it for this exercise we're about to do. So let me just be quiet or sing a song or something for you while you get this for our exercise today. I was in musical theater before I was a coach, so if anyone says anything that sounds like a lyric from a musical theater song, it is going on in my head, and I have to edit myself most of the time. It's not always appropriate to break out in song. All right, everyone have that who wants it? All right, I'm going to move back to the other side. So here's a mini cheat sheet, So let me see. You can take yourself on mute. We're small enough that I can see everybody. Does anyone have any questions about wisdom access questions before I explain our exercise? Anyone have any questions so far? I don't see anyone coming off mute. I don't see any hands. All right, no questions so far. So I'll explain the exercise. Okay, so I'm about to put you into pairs. And we're going to give you 5 minutes. You'll decide quickly who's the coach and who's the coachee. So the coach will be asking the questions. The coachee will be stating their problem. You have 1 minute to state your problem. So it could be something in your business, it could be something at home, but make it real so that the person has some good fodder to work with you on questions. So you're going to have 1 minute to explain what your situation is, and only 1 minute. I think we can send you a message in the chat, that you should be moving on to questions. Then you're going to have 4 minutes, only 4 minutes. The questioner, the coach, has 4 minutes to ask questions that begin with what. That's why I gave you a cheat sheet. You can't pick a wrong one. If it doesn't land, just pick another one. And I want you to only ask questions that begin with what. This is a false scenario, meaning you'll have other questions to use in your coaching as you do now. But I want you to have the experience of noticing how much information you might want, and I'm not going to let you have it. You only get 1 minute of information. Right? So you don't need the whole story to coach somebody effectively. And you're going to just ask, what? And now if they come to some clarity or some solution, you can stop asking what, and you guys can come up with a plan as to how they're going to move along with their problem. But you have up to 4 minutes to ask what questions. Now, this is why we reserve this for coaching and not for the rest of the world without asking for permission. Because these can be quite confrontive, right? What have you tried? What haven't you tried? What's working? What's not working? What are your options? It can feel like your firing squad a little bit, right? Of asking questions. I'll tell you a quick story just to illustrate how you definitely want to be asking for permission when you do this. This is how I ask questions. This is how I inquire. This is how I'm curious. And it blew up in my face one day with my family. My sister lives in California. The rest of us live on the East Coast. And one holiday season, she was going to come home for the holiday, for Thanksgiving specifically. And then she decided she wasn't coming, and she said it was about the money. So my mom and I got together and we decided we'll buy her ticket and have her come. So I called her up to tell her, Mom and I want to buy your ticket and have you come back east. And she was like, well, I still can't come. And I said, well, what's the real reason? What's going on? What are you not telling me? What am I not understanding? She hangs up on me. And 3 days later, I get an email saying, I'm not one of your clients you could ask those wisdom access questions of. Right. Now, the beauty of this is I had no idea my sister had ever read any of my books, so it told me that she did. But it's just a little warning of how confrontive these questions are when people don't want to tell the truth. There's no wiggle room. Now, these become very handy when we're in a discovery call and someone has objections to working with you, whether that be money, time, permission, or readiness to be on your coaching roster. So these are great. What is it about the money that seems to be an obstacle for you? What conversation do we need to have about that, right? So these can be great for that. If you guys want to role play that, you can. All right. So is everybody clear what we're going to do? 1 minute to tell the story, 4 minutes to coach to solution. If you come to solution before the 4 minutes are up, you guys can brainstorm how they're going to come to that solution. But your assignment is to use only what questions. Notice where that's challenging. Notice how you have a propensity to maybe ask more information, and we'll come back and debrief on that. Does that sound clear and good to everybody? All right, we're going off into our breakout room. See you in 5. Fantastic. You're back. Did everybody survive? I guess so. Yeah. All right, let's keep the mute open. You guys we can just chat. So tell me thoughts, reactions, comments. First let's do it this way. Show of hands. How many pairs came to a solution? Show of hands. Oh, we got some masterful coaching going on here. Okay, so I like to play kind of like the Name That Tune game. They got the solution in 5 questions. Raise your hand. They got a solution in 4 questions. All right, they got a solution in 3. They got a solution. All right. They got a solution in 2 questions. They got a solution in 1 question. They had energetic coaching with no questions asked whatsoever and got a solution. All right. So tell me your thoughts, reactions, comments, observations. Go. Anybody? I didn't count, but the cues were awesome, says Leah. Awesome. Great. What happened out there in Coach Land? Please speak up.
I really liked the your I guess guidance or limitation that you can only ask what questions. I never thought of that approach before, but it seemed like that's a very helpful approach that really helps you get at things that are important.
Right, it gets to the root of the issue, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Other observations and comments.
I was not the coach. I was the coachee, but I didn't expect to have things come up like with 3 questions only.
Amazing, right? Good. So it really got through to you. Good. Other observations. Anybody? Whether you were the coach or the coachee.
I was the coachee, and what I noticed was that after 2 questions, then they got more focused, more narrowed and pinpointed, which allowed me to stay in the lane of solution.
Ah, very interesting. Good. So they became more and more focused. Good. Other observations. Any challenges? Anyone notice themselves wanting more information? Were you frustrated? Anybody? Yeah?
No.
Yeah, some no, some yes. Okay, that's something to notice. It's like you want more info, and do you this is the one distinction that I think is really helpful. Are we asking questions for ourselves, or are we asking questions for the client? And I'll tell you, I am grateful to the coach that I had who actually was doing it all wrong, because that's how I discovered what I call now wisdom access questions, is because the coach was asking me all these questions for her to understand my scenario and what was going on. And I was like, God, I'm not getting anything out of this. And then I realized, oh, they're asking questions for them, not for me. So it's really like, again, ego reduction therapy. It's all for the client. You don't need to know. So, does this also open up the possibility of coaching in arenas that you are not familiar with? Right? Let's say you're someone who would like to do corporate coaching, but you never worked in a corporation. Like, you just need to be curious and ask questions. You don't need to know the whole scenario, you don't need to know how the whole operation works. Tell me how you can see this applicable, if at all, in discovery calls. Anyone see the connection? What do you see? What's possible?
I'm just gonna say I think I will get there quicker to why this person wants to speak to me.
That's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
That's right. And really asking a what question right out of the gate. What do you hope the outcome would be of working with me?
Wow.
Yeah.
Because people
I
get
was just going to say, maybe even using the questions to really hone in on what their goals are.
Yeah, because people come on the call and they feel like, first of all, if no one's ever worked with a coach before, they only compare it to therapy and they think they're like, this is time to tell you the whole story, right? So you can nip that in the bud, right away with like, I'm going to ask you a few questions and be the, asking you questions that will put us through seeing if we're a match. Is that okay with you? Yes. Okay. What do you hope the outcome would be of working with me? Well, I've never worked with a coach before. I don't know. Well, what do you want? What's causing you pain right now? So I'm curious, you can either put it in the chat or yell it out. How long are your discovery calls right now, folks? How long are your sales calls, discovery calls, whatever you guys might call them? 1 hour.
30
Good.
minutes.
30 minutes. Good. Anybody else? 30 minutes. 1 hour, 40 minutes. Good. So if you're doing anything over 30 minutes, you can get that down with using what questions. You don't need to put that much time in. I put 30 minutes so that I don't butt myself up against another call that, then have me rush. But I do my discovery calls in 15 to 20 minutes. Wow. Yeah, that's all it takes for people to figure out if that's a match, if you're asking the right questions. So let's do this exercise again. We're going to put you in the same groups. I know Ruth was an observer in a group, so if we could give her a chance, please, whoever's in Ruth's group, to either ask questions or be asked questions, so she's involved. We're going to do it again. Now you're a little wiser. A little wiser. So again, 1 minute to state the problem, 4 minutes to coach the solution, and now you've hopefully switched roles and the other person gets an opportunity. Any questions before we go back into the breakout room? Anybody? No, looks like we're ready to go. Go have fun.
All right. Getting everybody back.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. All right. So what happened this time? Somebody share. Tell me what happened.
I would love to share. I thought that was so fantastic. I actually had only previously offered 15-minute coaching sessions, and just recently I started doing 30, and it was so fun. I almost loved the brain challenge of just having to just be super concise in 30 minutes. And so this 5-minute or 4-minute coaching session was so eye-opening. It was so eye-opening. I could literally just laser in. I mean, I need a lot more practice, but I literally could just laser in on a question without having to think about, oh, have I examined the who enough? Have I, done this enough? Have I done that enough? I just was just very present and just asking questions.
Great. I can hear you're fired up. I love it.
Yes.
Excellent. Good. Other observations, and having done it the second time, what did that do for you, Valerie?
A very interesting exercise. Second time seems a bit more clearer. What I felt is a pressure pressure, just pressure.
Uh-huh.
And what I caught myself on is that I'm looking to solve to give the solution rather than spend time on exploration.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's just as the observation I've had on myself.
Yeah, it that's our automatic listening, right? Our automatic listening is, do I know this? Do I not know this? What am I
Yeah,
familiar with it?
I was in a position of a coach, so I was asking questions,
Yep.
and I felt like, I need to, rather than explore, I need to kind of solve the matter.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So and the exploration allows them to solve it for themselves, and that's where we're going. Is can people solve it for themselves? All right, the realization that we are better coaches than we sometimes give ourselves credit for. I had a wonderful spot coach. Awesome, Debbie. Great. Good. Other comments, observations? What do you see as application for this? What can you do with this?
Well, this felt a lot different being the client because when the coach is asking some good what questions, you kind of have no excuses. It's accountability. It's like, okay, fine. Now you know what to do. Are you going to do it or you're not going to do it?
Exactly, exactly. When I brought these to NASA, to the space engineers, and one of them said, "There's no wiggle room with these questions," and that's what you're saying. Like, there's no wiggle room. That's why my sister hung up on me. There was no wiggle room to tell a fib or to stretch the truth. It's like you're in there, and people try to get away from you. So you just kind of bring. Let me. No, you're not quite answering the question. Let me bring you back to the question. Good. Other observations? Anything else to share? Anybody?
I had a question for Valerie because I was the client. And Valerie, you mentioned that you wanted to, and maybe we could share after group too, but you wanted to say a solution. I'm just curious what solution came to mind.
Ah, no, no cheating, no cheating.
No, no, I did not, have a particular solution, but it was rather than the kind of how you say it, like approach or my like the mindset. Yeah, the mindset was rather than to explore and kind of to expand the kind of the knowledge and the vision. Maybe I was trying to do the opposite, to kind of like zoom in, rather than expand. This
Hmm.
was my idea. I did not have a particular kind of, you go there and do that. I didn't have that in my mind.
Well, feedback. I thought your questions were excellent, actually, and it did help me quite a bit.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Kitty wrote in the chat, up until now, how were my favorite coaching questions? I feel there's perhaps more wiggle room with those, and I can feel the difference between how and what. Yes, and I definitely find it's where people were trained to as a coach. So I'm curious, Kitty, where were you trained as a coach? I'm just curious. Let's see if my observations are good.
So my training school is called the Holistic Coach Training School.
Okay, that
So,
wasn't the one that I usually put the how questions on, but I understand. And I didn't learn this in coaching school. I learned this after the fact, but take it for whatever it's worth. But I'd love to put myself on the spot. Not that I'd love to, but I'm willing to put myself on the spot. Anyone, let's do this in front of everyone. I'll be the coach. Anyone want to be let's do a role play of a discovery call so you can see how we can use these in a discovery call. Anyone want to be my coachee? Raise your hand. Anyone want to be my would-be client? Okay, Ruth, take yourself off mute. You're on.
Okay.
All right, so
So,
I'll start it. Hold on. Wait, I just lost everybody. There we go. Okay, so Ruth, welcome. Glad you could take the call today. I'm going to ask you a few questions to get us started, and we'll see if we're a match for coaching. Does that sound good to you?
okay, sounds good.
Good. So, what do you hope the outcome would be of working with a coach, possibly me, but it could be any coach?
I think to come to a decision of something that I've been just mulling over for at least trying to figure out for at least 2 to 3 years.
And what is that you're mulling over?
I'm mulling over the fact that for 20 years I've been a professional organizer, helping people declutter and feel calm in their spaces. And 5 years ago, I began coach training only to just integrate questions into my coaching, client sessions. And then I loved coaching so much that I wanted to go down that path. And the stumbling block is that if I'm a quote ICF coach, then I'm asking questions and I'm not a consultant, I'm not leading them. And as an organizer, I am a consultant. I am telling essentially people what to do. And so I don't know how to I have this expertise in organizing, and I mean, I have 20 years of a successful track record. My clients love me. And so now I don't know how to, let's say, do an organizing coaching without actually telling them where to go. When I have coaching
Let me
clients,
ask you another question, Ruth. Let me stop you. Let me ask you another question. What is your dream? What would be the ideal practice?
My ideal practice would be to have a 30-minute coaching call, and the topic could be organizing. Let's just say it is organizing because that's my stumbling block. And then maybe the last 5 minutes, if they want additional ideas or options, I could give it to them, or even at another time, I could give them some options. But it would be to coach and to see if I could bring out their wisdom.
Great. So what is the obstacle to doing that?
That 95% of my clients, my organizing clients, when I ask them how I can help them, they need to learn the skill of organizing. And I do believe, just like learning how to weld, learning how to bake, learning how to play piano, you do need some instruction.
Right. So what options do you have as the owner of your own business, at the helm of your own ship? What options do you have?
I guess I have all of the options.
That's right. So what one do you want to put in place?
I'd like to put in coach with a little tiny parentheses after it of and organizing consulting too, if needed.
Great. Great. So what can you do now that you couldn't do 2 minutes ago when we started?
I guess I'm just open to the idea that I could, as long as I'm clear with my clients about what hat I'm wearing, then I could do anything I want.
That's right. So what do you need me for? Do you need a coach, or did you just answer your own question?
I may have answered my own question, answered your questions.
Yes. Good. All right, good. So I'm going to put that on a close, and I'll say as advice, Ruth, you can make your practice whatever you want it to be. And you can say, we do a half-hour intake session, and then we see if we need more hands-on, or more consulting. Right?
I love it. That's
Good.
great. How long was that? That had to have only been minutes.
Yeah. I think it was around 3, maybe 4. I put the clock on, but I wasn't sure where we started. Good. So what did you observe, folks? She didn't become my client. We solved her problem, and that's okay too. What did you see? What did you observe?
I liked that you made it okay, I think, to interrupt. So
Yes.
what I notice about coaches oftentimes is we tend to feel like it's rude if we were to interrupt somebody. And I liked that you demonstrated that you can interrupt somebody to help them clarify. It's not because you're rude, it's because you have a purpose.
Right. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Yeah, because Ruth, was going further into the problem.
Yeah.
Couldn't see her way out of the problem. So there's no sense investing in that. We wanted to invest in what's the ideal. Obviously, if you're suffering might be a strong word, but struggling with an issue for so long, there's something you really want. So what's that?
Mm.
What's that thing you really want? And then you get to make the rules when it comes to your practice. How fun is that? All right, good. What else did you observe? Anybody? Comments, question. It can be a question about why I asked a question, whatever. It was so fast, says Kitty. Yeah. Is this useful, everybody? Is this useful to you? Okay, good. Good.
Absolutely. Very
Okay,
much
good.
so.
So another thing that I want to encourage, and I'm happy to do another modeling of this, is to
Yes.
trust your intuition. And I'll tell you why that's the Hulk in a second, but why I have the Hulk in my slide. But you trust your intuition when it comes to the questions. You know what occurs to you, what's coming up, what needs to be said. I remember a client of mine, and I had this image come to my mind. This was my intuition was speaking to me in pictures. You know, some of us hear things, some of us sense things, some of us might see things. And I saw like a wall that was green and purple, like the colors of the Hulk. And I saw these animated ants coming over the wall. And I was like, I'm not going to tell my client that I'm seeing this, right? So I took a deep breath and I asked a question, and the question that came to me was, what are the bugs in the system? And he was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I need to be asking myself. And I honestly don't remember how the rest of the session went because I was just so relieved that I took a deep breath and the question came and it was one that made sense to them. But I just use this to illustrate, you know, trust your intuition when it comes to what question to ask next. Good. So we do have requests for another demo. Anyone want to go next? I'll remove the Hulk. I'll go with the target. We want to be very targeted. Any anyone want to go next and we'll just do a coaching scenario. It doesn't have to be a discovery call. Just we can coach on whatever you want to coach. And I'll use as many what questions as possible. Anybody? Business issue, life issue.
It's a really great opportunity, people.
Yes, don't be shy. It's free.
Yeah, I'll go.
We've got one.
All right, good. Tell me what's on your mind. What's on your
On my mind is how to increase the number of clients I have for coaching.
What do you do to get leads?
The usual things, the social media, the business social media, which is LinkedIn, the website, yeah, that's it. That's it.
What keeps you from showing up in person?
Language. I'm in France. I do speak English, but that doesn't help you a lot when you're in France. And obviously, my Ukrainian and Russian is also no help. So online is my savior, which kind of helps me work with the clients. And yeah, that's the main barrier.
Ah, okay, so that makes sense. So that's interesting. I've not coached a language barrier before. You are not your language barrier. All right, so what options have you not explored online? What do you know you need to be doing that you're not doing?
Engage more actively with Ukrainian and Russian speaking community.
I think that would be a great asset to you. Also, what other
Yeah, I mean the one that are also living here. What else? I'm going in circles, kind of. You know, I'm thinking about that I should be going to my old connections, asking them for some kind of either referrals or something. But I've done that before. Maybe as the time has passed, I can kind of revisit.
what I
Uh,
hear missing is connection. So there's a barrier in just being online. to connection.
Not sure I
So
understand what you mean.
what you're behind a screen. Are you
Yeah.
talking to people? Are you getting on the phone?
I'm talking to people once there is a discovery session. I'm talking to people, if that's what you mean. Or
Yeah, you're talking to
what do you,
people once there's a discovery session. So what's missing, I think, this is I'm going to advice giving now. What I think is missing is getting out in front of people. And I know that there's the language barrier, but if there's Ukrainian or Russian groups of professionals, if there's some English speaking groups of professionals, what
well, we have a business community here, and I've done some offline sessions with them.
great.
Actually, like workshops. Yeah, I'm planning to engage on that more actively. But yeah, so far it has honestly haven't given me much of a
What gives you the most success? What marketing activities bring you the most opportunity?
So far is direct how do you say direct sales or direct approach via the LinkedIn
Good.
platform.
So what keeps you from doing more of that?
It's kind of the rate of the effort to benefit kind of is very discouraging.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
have to say.
And what happens when you get discouraged?
What happens? What happens? Well, it obviously affects the. I'm trying to keep myself disciplined with all the, goals for daily targets. I had to send this many messages, this many
So let
messages.
me ask the question again. What happens when you get discouraged?
Get
Take a deep breath
discouraged.
and answer.
What I take a deep breath and then I'm trying to find something new, or get back to what I was doing, before I get discouraged if I cannot come up with something new.
Good. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. So, in my experience, speaking is the number one way to grow a coaching practice. So, you can still do it virtually and get some of those people that you've met into a virtual room like we're doing today and
Uh-huh.
lead something. So whether you're speaking virtually or you're speaking in person, this goes to everybody. I grew my business in the 1990s that way, and I still grow my business in the 2020s that way now. Because when people see you speak, they experience you, they start imagining what would it be like if I worked with them. They've said yes to you a few times before they actually get on the phone with you to have a discovery call. They've said yes to showing up. They said yes to your ideas. They said yes to a discovery call. And the likelihood of them becoming a client goes way up. Is that an option you'd consider?
Definitely, definitely.
So I'd even encourage you to do monthly webinars.
Hmm. Yes, yes. Okay, okay. Sounds like an option. Sounds like an option.
What's your willingness on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 is the most willing, 1 is the least willing. What's your willingness?
I would put it around 7 probably.
Cool.
7, 8, maybe like this.
Good.
Um,
All right. So it's February. When are you going to do your first one?
in February. By the end of February.
Good. All right. Good. All right. Let's leave it there. Comments, observations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just think you need more demonstration of what you do in front of people, and it brings people in. Good. Comments, thoughts, observations. Obviously, that wasn't a discovery call or anything, but that was just a business problem that a lot of us have. Where do we find leads?
So I have a question on what was your determining factor here for you in going into more of an advice giving stance?
The ideas were not coming, right? So we kind of, what are the options? And the options were doing some of the same things. So what was missing was new information in my assessment, or a new challenge.
Okay.
Neon, is that your name? Neon?
It's pronounced Neve, but that's okay. It's an Irish name. So Neve like Steve. What I thought was interesting was, having.
Oh no, I lost Neve. What happened?
Sorry about that.
Oh,
I
there
pressed
you are.
something, and
Okay, there you
I
are.
was trying to lower my hand, and obviously I did something else. What I thought was really interesting, because I've coached for a while, Laura, is, sometimes the coaching process is this beautiful arc. And sometimes it gets to this place where, for me, I'm like, oh my God, where do I go with this? And I was watching you ask questions when Valerie was getting stuck. And I thought that was really great. That was very, very helpful for me to see how you navigated and what you did and where you got them. So thank you both for that, because I know, Valerie, that was hard. You were at a place obviously where you've been stuck for a while, and so it was a good session. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for that observation and that comment, because that's exactly right. Like, I stuck with the questions as long as I could, and then we needed a new opening. So that's when I switched modes. Let me just see what, okay, I was just checking if I've missed anything. Nope. All right, I'm going to tell you about that. All right, good. So any other observations or comments on what you saw? And again, I did do my best to stick with questions. Yeah, Ruth.
It's really an insight that I think that I have been committed, thinking that I needed to be committed only to being an ICF, only asking questions. They make their own decision, where I see you as you're actually helping them with the problem that they're telling you they have, and you're committed to helping them find a solution, no matter what avenue that is. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, as I give you guys this exercise of the 4 minutes of only questions and only what questions as a way to stretch you and to show you a new tool. Clearly, when you're in a coaching session, you use all your tools. I tend to lean the most heavily on the what questions, but if, like, we're still stuck, then there might be a suggestion, or there might be
Yeah,
a how question, or there might be something else. But yes, it's the main tool, but it's not the only tool.
got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good. All right. So you see, we're not totally wrapping up, but we're getting there. You see that there's an ISCF survey that you guys have to do so that you can get your CEUs for this. Kitty says, in the breakout room, I honestly felt that just using the what questions was enough. Yeah, it often is. I will always default to questions, be in that inquiry, be in that curiosity. And again, we didn't really do overcoming objections because we're not really doing a sales thing today. But when you're overcoming objections with people in a discovery call, we go, well, I don't have the money. And we go, oh, okay, they don't have the money. And that's the end of the call. No. Think of some what questions. Like, what is it about the money that concerns you? Is it the number? Is it you would need a payment plan? What is it about the money? Oh, my spouse would be so unhappy. What is your spouse attitude about investment in your growth? So stay curious, stay in the conversation, and you'll be amazed how you get people to the other side of it and they realize, I don't have an excuse here. Like, she's busted through every excuse I have, and you do it through questions. So back to the ICF, completing your survey. I understand that this chapter is a little short on volunteers at the leadership level. And I just wanted to say a little something about that. We all have so much going on in our lives, and we all have so many things that we volunteer for, and bandwidth is hard, but the chapters exist because ICF is a volunteer-based organization. And as someone who was one of the first 16 volunteers, and now we're in 86 countries all over the world, I can tell you it's not asking, what can ICF do for me? Ask what you can do for the ICF. So if you're at invested in ICF staying in your area, talk to Carrie. They have some great ideas about how they can make it easier for people to volunteer in leadership. And I needed to say my 2 cents worth about the ICF situation.
Thanks, Laura.
There's my plug for ICF and for your local chapter. So, any other questions about questions today? Anyone have any other questions about questions or anything that you've learned here? What can you do now that you couldn't do at the beginning of the session? Because I'm so grateful for you spending an hour and a half with me today. What can you do now that you couldn't do before? 3 people.
I can try to reframe my questions, because what I caught myself in the session, that I was thinking about another question, like how this blah 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 something happens, or and I had to, okay, how can I ask it with what?
Beautiful. Good. Awesome. 2 more people. What can you do now that you may not have done at the beginning of the session? Anybody?
Well, I think the use of the what questions gets back to one of your earlier points about focusing on solutions, because it really, I think, points you to taking some kind of an action rather than understanding. Understanding is great. There's nothing wrong with it. But I think if you really want to focus on solutions, that means doing something. So what is that something?
Asking a question. Awesome. Good. I haven't heard from Carrie today. I haven't heard from Mark. Anything?
Focus on the discovery to get to a decision about coaching.
Awesome.
And the efficiency you gain by streamlining that process.
Well said. Thank you. Helpful. Good. Someone wrote, thank you so much. I didn't think about it before I submitted the survey, but I would love a class on the tools we can use, because I too thought suggestions would land me in ICF jail. It lands you in ICF jail if you're taking your test. Yes. But I have to say, as someone who's a 32-year veteran of coaching, the truth is that it's more varied colors than just asking questions, but when you're in a real session. So yes, if you're sitting for your MCC, they want to hear just questions. So it's get as well versed as you can in your questions. But the truth is, in real life, we bring in all our tools. Let me just say that. Honestly, I was an MCC 30 years ago. I'm afraid if I ever lost it and had to take it. I feel sorry for you. I do. So before I go, I want to extend an invitation to all of you. As you saw, I do some business side of the business coaching for coaches. That is what I do now. I spent 25 of my 30 years doing career coaching, helping people figure out what to do with their life. And since the pandemic, I heard a statistic that 82% of coaches close up shop within 2 years. And that just broke my heart and sent me pivoting in a new direction. And for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been doing something called the A-List Coach. And I do an event that'll only be $1 to all of you. It's usually $149, but we're not supposed to sell anything when we come out and talk to the ICF chapter. So if you want to attend May 12th, 13th, and 14th for $1, put in code 1. I'm going to put the code in the chat. You spell the word code and you add the number 1, and you can have it for $1. And I'll see you in May, and we'll talk about the business side of the business, because I delve very deeply into that. I am so grateful for the opportunity to come and talk to the chapters. And I was geographically challenged when I came on the call and said, where is High Country? And now I know. So I learned something new today. And I thank you all for being here and spending time with us. And I know you're busy. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Laura. There's lots of kudos in the chat. Keep bringing them into the chat so Laura gets to see those. Just a quick reminder to wrap us up, and that is, please fill out the survey. That's what prompts us to get you the certificate. You get 1.5 CCEUs today, which is awesome. And then the other thing is, if you are looking for your ethics coaching CCEUs, next month, we're bringing in Bonnie Steep. who will be doing ethical coaching, how to use the ICF Code of Ethics in your coaching practice. And that will land you 1.5 core competency CCEUs towards ethics. So for those who need the ethics, we've got that. And then the other thing I'll share with you is we are looking, Catherine and I are exploring for April to do a panel discussion around assessments. A lot of people have put in feedback that they're really curious about what assessments coaches are using, what assessments are clients asking for, et cetera. And so that is what we are working towards. It's not on the website yet.
But it is definitely coming because we have 3 panelists confirmed.
That's right. Thank you. Catherine, our membership chair, is traveling at the airport, as you can hear. But we just wanted to make you all aware that's what we're working on. We should have the website updated probably in the next week. But anyway, just wanted to let you know, ethics in March and then assessments in April. Keep sharing your feedback. Debbie, thanks for putting that in the chat too. If there's topics and things you're really interested in, share them, because we like to go out and get great speakers like Laura. So thank you again, Laura. Thank you to all of you for being here, because without you, we wouldn't have these programs. So hope you have an amazing weekend, rest of your day. Enjoy the Olympics if you're watching.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you, Carrie.
Bye,
Yeah.
everybody.
Bye, everyone. Christine, thank you so much for helping today.
Definitely.
I'm going to stop recording. Ooh, sorry.
Laura, I wanted to note